Collision between general cargo vessel Scot Explorer and gas carrier Happy Falcon at 10:43 on 24 October 2023. The general cargo ship Scot Explorer collided with the gas carrier Happy Falcon about 12 nautical miles, nm, at Denmark. Both vessels had departed ports in Sweden the previous day and were bound for the UK and the Netherlands, respectively. Happy Falcon had overtaken Scot Explorer overnight along the northern tip of Denmark, and both vessels proceeded southwesterly along the Danish coast. At 10:12 on 24 October, Scot Explorer was proceeding at 12 knots, kts, on a 216 degrees course with the master alone on the bridge when Happy Falcon, which was fine on Scot Explorer's port bow and 5 nanometers ahead, began to slow down due to a technical fault on the main engine. At 10:18, Happy Falcon came to a stop and started to drift while repairs were being made. But the required vessel not under command signals were not displayed. The vessel's navigational status was not updated on the Automatic Identification System, ICE, and a maritime safety information message was not broadcast. Meanwhile, Scot Explorer maintained its course and speed, with a steady bearing and decreasing range to Happy Falcon over the next 20 minutes. Scot Explorer's master was undertaking other duties on the bridge and was not monitoring nearby traffic. The master made 2 minor course alterations with the autopilot, but this did not affect the closest point of approach, CPA, with Happy Falcon, which was almost zero. At 10:42, a crew member, who had been working on deck, ran to the bridge and alerted the master to the developing close-quarters situation. By then, Happy Falcon was about 200 meters away, with a CPA of 20 meters in just 40 seconds. Still making good a speed of 12 knots. The master immediately used the autopilot to initiate a turn to starboard before switching to hand steering to increase the rudder angle. But the turn was not enough to avoid the collision 10 seconds later. Scot Explorer's port side struck Happy Falcon's starboard quarter, resulting in hull damage to both vessels above the waterline. The officer of the watch on neither vessel was keeping an effective lookout, using all available means to determine if a risk of collision existed, or acted in time to prevent a collision in accordance with the call regs. Although Happy Falcon was unable to maneuver as required by the call regs or keep out of the way of another vessel, its crew had not taken the appropriate actions to inform other vessels of the situation. Scot Explorer's master was alone on the bridge and distracted by other duties that interfered with keeping a safe navigational watch. Scot Explorer's electronic navigation aids were not being monitored. Both electronic chart display and information system, EDIS, units were set to silent mode, with all audible alarms deactivated while underway. Although Happy Falcon was visible on both of Scot Explorer's radars, the target had not been acquired by an automatic radar plotting aid. The absence of a dedicated lookout on Scot Explorer's bridge meant there was no one immediately available on the bridge to assist the master as the situation developed by activating hand steering and taking the helm, which highlighted that, when the vessel is in automatic steering, it is highly dangerous to allow a situation to develop to the point where the OOW is without assistance and has to break the continuity of the lookout in order to take emergency action. The initial use of the autopilot by Scot Explorer's master instead of using hand steering to conduct the emergency maneuver resulted in a smaller rudder angle being used and, therefore, a slower rate of turn to avoid the collision. Scot Explorer's general emergency alarm was not sounded to alert the crew about the collision or activate the ship's emergency response. If you found this video helpful and interesting, please consider subscribing to our channel for the latest updates. Thank you.